We're on. All right. Extremely sorry for this breakdown that's happened. However, we go back quickly to what we were discussing about hearts and arrows. So, yeah, we were talking about what are hearts and arrows, what really causes hearts and arrows. So this effect really is seen on diamonds, round brilliant cut diamonds to start with, which are cut near ideal or near excellent proportions. That's your crown angles, your tables, your parameters need to be almost like the excellent cut grade in order to achieve this. That's why less than 1% of diamonds today are cut and polished to the hearts and arrows to display the perfect hearts and arrows effect. The reason being that today, when you're cutting diamonds to show this effect, you have to achieve excellent proportions, excellent symmetry, and the polish also needs to be near excellent. And when you're cutting diamonds to excellent finish like this, you will lose weight. So when there's a loss of weight, you will lose some money on that. And because you lose some money, these diamonds need to be priced a little higher than the natural, not the natural, all diamonds are natural here that we're talking about, but the round brilliant cuts, the other generic round brilliant cuts, yes, these will be priced a little higher than that. We spoke briefly about the history of how this was accidentally seen in Japan, and today world over we see these diamonds being sold. What makes them really special is firstly the fact that they're not generic. They have to be really cut and polished to perfect finish in order to achieve this. And yes, it's quite a quest to achieve this perfect beauty. And also not to forget that because it's diamond, which is a symbol of love, and because it shows hearts and arrows in the symbol of love, which is actually what we relate to is Cupid effect. These diamonds, or this effect, is also known as the Cupid effect, right? So that's telling you a little bit about the hearts and arrows history and what really we notice or what we see in the hearts. But how do you really see this? Can you see it with your naked eye? Can you see it with a microscope? Actually, what you can really see is what you need to do is you need to get hold of a heart and arrow scope or a viewer, right? This is a very simple tool, not expensive, ranges anywhere from 200 to 500 Indian rupees. Using this filter or these viewers, which come in different types, the smaller one that you notice on the left is for diamonds which are primarily below 50 points. And then you have a little larger one for bigger sizes, a carat above. And then you have a larger one for 2-3 carats above. So sizes are more, they're relative to the size of the diamonds, right? What does the viewer really do? It's going to channelize or direct white light or the colored light into your diamond, right? So it's actually directing that light so that it reflects back the pattern to you. So it's actually going to reflect back those particular facets and actually help you see the effect, right? How do you use this? So you need to keep your eye at a little distance, that would be a couple of inches away from the viewer. And there is a little stand on which you got to place your stone. You have to place to see the arrows, you need to see it from the face-up view, and to see the hearts, you have to see it from the pavilion view. So let's see how we do this. Like I mentioned, you place your diamond, table down, pavilion up, and you look through the viewer. You will be able to see from the pavilion 8 symmetrical hearts. You should see 8 symmetrical hearts. If you flip the stone onto the little disc or the stand, where the table is facing up and the culet is in the wedge, what you will notice is 8 symmetrical perfect arrows seen from the face up view, right? So this is what you really need to see. When they're mounted in jewelry, what you really will be only be able to see are the arrows from the face up and not the hearts, because diamonds are set with table up, pavilion down, right? So this is how you view them, a little bit about hearts and arrows. How do you achieve them? What are the factors that govern the formation of hearts and arrows? Most primarily, these are the three uh, uh, factors that you have to keep in mind. Firstly are the angles, right? And when we talk about angles, we are going to talk about the vertical angles, right? And not to forget the horizontal angle, also known as the azimut angles, right? The vertical angles are a little easier to achieve. We have our proportions, we have equipment like serene and other measurement equipments which will help you cut diamonds and polish according to perfect angles, like what should be the right pavilion angle, what should be the right crown angle, right? So all that is possible with modern equipment today. Additional to that, what you really need is the horizontal angles. If you see the image below, you will see these are your facet angles. Now, how do you achieve near excellent facet angles? Now, for that, you have to, there are a lot of parameters. When you're polishing the diamond, each and every facet should be at a particular angle, and there should not be too much variation. Actually, absolutely almost no variation to achieve this effect. Now, if while polishing a diamond, if you press the diamond too much on the scale, or if there is any change in the balance while cutting the diamonds on the scale, if there is a play on the scale, all these affect in your horizontal angles, and in return do not display the perfect hearts and arrows pattern that you're supposed to see, right? What we also see on the screen right now is exactly the angles that we're talking about are your horizontal angles, or the angles of tilt, angles of azimut as we call it, right? Cutters will be very familiar with this. Absolutely no tolerance is allowed in these, because these primarily play the most important role in achieving the hearts and arrows effect, right? That's showing you a scale for a polishing wheel on which you need to polish the diamonds, and the wheel need to be smooth, not too much play on the wheel, perfect powder, diamond powder for cutting, not too coarse. A lot goes in to cut diamonds. So on regular wheels, on regular polishing wheels, cutters do not polish diamonds which are to be cut for hearts and arrows. They're dedicated wheels on which they would be cutting such stones, right? Secondly, symmetry. Symmetry, like we know, is all about the balance in the stone. It's all about everything being symmetrical, perfect. It may be the size of the facets, the shapes of the facets, the angles, the table facet, whether the culet is off center, table is centered. So your symmetry plays primarily like your azimut and like your vertical angle. Symmetry is crucial for achieving hearts and arrows. Like I mentioned before, excellent is the word, or excellent is the term. You need to have near almost excellent symmetry to achieve this, right? So when we're talking about symmetry, a lot of symmetry variations we need to take care of. That the table should not be in the center, should not be off center. The culet should be centered and not off centered. Misalignment of facets. The facets cannot be misaligned. That means the facets on the crown and the facets on the pavilion should be perfectly aligned to see this effect. Irregular girdle. If you have a wavy girdle, the girdle is wavy, you will see that either a heart or an arrow is missing. Facets irregular. Facets should be perfect, all size similar, cannot be big and small. You cannot have open facet. That means not ending at a point. They should be perfectly ending at points and sharp. crown angle. Variations, stone not being round, are all defects which are not allowed in stones which you may are cutting for hearts and arrows. Just showing you some symmetry problems that we see in generic stones, which are good, very good makes out of round stone like this, not eligible for hearts and arrows, right? Like it says, stone should be very good to excellent symmetry. Yeah. Proportions also very good to excellent proportions. And we've given you a chart, a guideline chart. Like this chart should help you cut round, brilliant cuts to achieve the hearts and arrows effect. The table percentage, if you see, should be closely between 55 to 58%. Crown angles 34, 35, you can't play much with that. Crown height also similar, 14 to 15%. The girdle thickness, you should keep well between below 5% or just up to 5%. Thicker girdles, if it gets thick, very thick girdles, you may lose out on the effect, or the arrows not look, they don't seem like they're ending at a point but left open, like chopped arrows from the top. Pavilion percentage should, you can't play much, 42 to 43%. Lower girdle length, star length guidelines have been given to you. So if you follow this chart more or less, yes, you can move in that direction, but like I said, just a guideline or a chart like that, you may have lots and lots of diamonds, round brilliant cuts which fall into these proportions, but when you look through the viewer, you don't see the hearts and arrows effect. That's why, because not only the cut grade or the parameters, but the polish or the symmetry or your angles all need to be near excellent. How are hearts formed? Let's see if you can see closely how from the pavilion side, if you have one pavilion main which reflects onto the other side, which forms one part of the heart. Yes, there you see that, and you see another pavilion main which reflects to the other side, forming the other half of the heart, right, divided by the lower girdle facets. And if you notice the points of the hearts, you know, on the top, you can say the shoulders of the heart are pointed, but that's just when the star facet has not been polished. Basically, when you polish the star facets on the crown side, you see, you notice the shoulders look like they're blunt now, right? So the tips have been squared off and it looks like a beautiful, perfect heart shape, right? That's what you need. Perfect hearts, 8 hearts, bright hearts, cannot be looking light and dark. When you look at the stone with through the viewer, you have to be very careful on how you view. Keeping the distance, you make sure that when at one crisp image of all 8 hearts should show up. It shouldn't be like it's blinking, the hearts are blinking. Sometimes you move your head, it looks like it's showing up, sometimes it doesn't show up. So when it starts blinking, that means it's not perfect. These arrows, or I'm sorry, these hearts would fail. It has to be perfect 8 hearts which show up very crisp, right? Let's see a few points that we notice for stones which fail for hearts and arrows. I have a pointer here which I can. Yes. Right. So out here you notice, looking at all the 7 hearts, they all look like they are the same size. However, one of them we pointed out is a smaller heart. So if you have 7 perfect hearts and 1 heart which is not of the same size, this would fail. This particular stone, just for that particular small size heart, would not be a candidate for hearts and arrows cut stone. Let's look at the shape. If you look at this shape, they're all similar shape. However, you have a different shape here, even it's a smaller size. But even if it's a larger heart, but a shape which is not very similar and looks different, stands out, the stone fails for hearts. What you notice out here are, again, hearts which are misshapen, big and small, making the stone fail. Let's look at this. Now this, if you look closely, if you notice on the right hand stone, between the heart, just below the heart shape, you see a V-shape formation. You notice this? All right, all hearts have this V-shaped formation, and there's a little gap between the heart and the formation. That should always be there. If you come to the stone on the left, you will notice that the hearts and the V-shaped formation, they look like they're joined. There's no gap or no distance or difference between them. So this particular stone on the left would fail, while the right one would pass. Coming back to another stone, pass and fail. Now, you know, the part in the center which actually splits the two lobes of the heart is known as the cleft. Here you have all the hearts looking similar, but the clefts are too deep. It looks like it's tearing between, it's breaking in between. Stones which show this kind of particular exhibit this pattern, also the stone fails for hearts and arrows. Again, if you look at the V-shaped formation, it should have a gap, should look perfect, should not look like it's being merged. Look at this stone, what happened? Just to probably remove an inclusion or probably to remove a natural, they pushed the girdle in a little bit, all right? So you see suddenly it's medium girdle and it becomes very thin in this area. So what happens? Directly there is an impact on one of the hearts which is dark. It's not bright anymore, right? So you have 7 perfect hearts and you have one which you can't really see. So this stone again fails for hearts, and the stone is not an heart and arrow candidate, right? Inclusions. Can we have stones which I1 or I category stones, I1, I2, I3 also for hearts and arrows? Well, it depends on the inclusion type. The inclusion should not interfere in the shape or the outline shape of the hearts. What you notice on the right hand side are stones where is a stone where the inclusion is not cutting the outline but well within the outline of the hearts. It gives you a very good outline shape of the heart, doesn't interfere with the pattern. However, on the left hand side you see certain inclusions which are cutting the entire outline of the heart. The shoulders are cut, so it doesn't seem like a heart, right? So stones which don't show the perfect outline, again these stones fail, while the stone which is on the right would pass. So yes, we can have mostly SI, I1 clarity stones and above would nominate or would pass as would be candidates to make hearts and arrows cut diamonds. Doesn't need to be specifically VVS or VS stones. Quickly moving on to arrows. How do we notice the arrows? We see from the face up again, the pavilion main reflects onto the other side, creating the other arrow, and this one onto the other side, creating another arrow, similar 8 arrows are being. So it's like mirrors inside, reflecting, facets reflecting onto each other, right? Excellent symmetry. This is what you need. Excellent symmetry, perfect arrows, all bright, all sharp, all nice to look at. And this stone, yes, is a good candidate for perfect arrows. Again, just like we had problems with hearts, we can have problems with arrows. And the problems that we see are poorly formed arrows. You look at this, you see the stone. You can't really see arrows in there. You see some or the other effect showing, but not really perfect arrows that we saw in this particular image is missing here, right? Again, misaligned arrows. Now, the arrows divided into 2 parts. The top part is known as the head and the lower part as the shaft. The shaft and the head should be perfectly aligned. It should not be misaligned. So if there are arrows, the head and the shaft are cross or misaligned, that stone fails for arrows, right? Arrows should be equidistant. You see, look at the distance between these arrows, and suddenly you, wow, look at this. Looks like they're so far apart. This is a clear example of poor bad symmetry, which has caused this effect, right? Bow tie. Sometimes you see this bow tie, like we wear a bow tie. Yeah, when you go to a party, you go to a ball, dance, you wear a bow tie. But it looks nice on us. However, if it's in your stone showing hearts and arrows, that would fail. It should not show this bow tie effect that you see here, right? All symmetry problems that you see. Again, the question is, can there be stones which are Si, I1, or lower clarity would be candidates for hearts and arrows? Yes, as long as the inclusion does not cut the shape or is within, the inclusion is within the arrow or within the shape, not breaking the outline, like the stone on the right hand side. However, on the left hand side, if you notice, the inclusions are cutting the head. There's a big inclusion out here which you can't even see the point of that arrow. It's pointless, right? That fails, right? Crown pavilion misalignment. If there's a misalignment of the table of the crown facets and the pavilion facets, misalignment, that you would result in arrows failing. What you see out here is, if you notice closely, the arrows don't look like they're ending in a point. They look like they're open, right? So because it's an arrow, it should be perfectly ending in a point. Look at this one. This is nice. This is ending in a point. However, this one, this one, this one, they look like they're open. Either the cutter, while polishing, he left the pavilion mains open and then closed them, or the girdle is thick or very thick. That's why you see this effect. They look like the points have been chopped off. And though you see a beautiful arrow pattern here, but because of chopped points, this stone would fail. Yeah, this is showing you from the pavilion. If you notice, the polisher has left the pavilion main open. That's why it looks open from the top here. It should end at a point like this one. It's ending at a perfect point. And it's not difficult to achieve this. This is possible, right? This is perfectly possible to achieve this without much weight loss, right? Right. Moving to conclusions, all right? What do you need to do? A, you need to keep in mind that if you want perfect hearts and arrows, you have to compromise on the weight of the diamond. You will have to cut and polish like excellence. You lose some more weight. You should make a point to meet your angles, that is your vertical angles, and your horizontal facet angles should be perfect, or like excellent symmetry. Perfect symmetry, no misalignments, no open facets. So if all this is kept in mind, and trust me, it requires expertise to achieve this. And if this is done, yes, you will have beautiful stones showing this pattern. Now, we have hearts and arrows. When we issue report at IGI, we issue hearts and arrows special reports for diamonds which are cut to these parameters. We give visual heart and arrow reports as well as even a photo heart and arrow report. So this is showing you how we click the photo. So a stone is put on and clicked with the camera. You can actually see on the right hand side how it shows the arrows as well as the hearts, right? Right, this is being done at IGI. And these are the photos that you can see. If you notice these photos, this is how we would then cut these pictures and paste them on the reports. There you see. So this is a photo heart and arrow report, but we also can have a visual heart and arrow report, right? For that, we wouldn't stick photos, but a generic image of the heart and arrow is pasted, or is not pasted, but actually printed onto the report. So that's how a visual heart and arrow report looks like. It could even come in a bigger format. This is more like a dossier type format, but it could come in a larger format. We also do small credit card size heart and arrow reports, full diamond reports with hearts and arrows. This is how it looks. So when we're talking about hearts and all this time we've been speaking about round brilliance, but this can also be achieved in other shapes like the cushion. If you notice here, the cushion cut, as well as the octagon cut too, right? So 8 hearts and arrows is just one of the versions that you're seeing today. People are cutting 10 hearts and arrows. That means 10 hearts and 10 arrows. So they're more like modified brilliant cut stones, right? You can see an image out here showing a square heart and arrow cut, a cushion heart and arrow. I showed you an octagon 8-sided heart and arrow cut diamond also. And this is how the IGI report looks like, the hearts and arrows report, right? So with that, I end the session on hearts and arrows. I hope this information was useful. If you need to know more about how to achieve this, we have a short 2-day program also, which actually with your team, we can help you achieve hearts and arrows, cut diamonds, right? So it's possible. People are talking about it. It's all over the world. It's getting popular. It's something different to offer to customers. Like I mentioned before, the symbol of love diamond comes with the perfect Cupid effect. That's hearts and arrows, right? So I'll be able to take some questions now. If I can have some questions. Pranav and Neil, right? The question from you is the cut, if the cut is good and the symmetry is excellent, can we achieve hearts and arrows? Pranav, it's a little difficult. To be very honest, for the cut grade, if it is good, it's not really possible, because for cut grade good, the girdles would be very thick or more, and that would actually cut off the points or the heads. So it's a little difficult in that case to achieve hearts and arrows. Not that we've not really seen a stone which is a good cut with an excellent symmetry, like you mentioned, showing hearts and arrows. Yes, we've seen that, but yes, it's not a flow. You cannot really get that in a flow. Very good cut stones, very good cut grade parameters with excellent symmetry, yes, possible, right? Possible to achieve hearts and arrows in fancy brilliant shapes, like I said, cushion cuts, octagon cuts, square brilliant cuts, yes, all that is possible. Why aren't hearts and arrows available in lower colors and clarities? It's available. It's not that it's possible. It's not available. It's just that it's more of what's saleable. So when you're selling something which is a little highly priced, when you're selling diamonds which are clarity VS and above, J and J plus, you want the customer to give you a little higher price, or you can afford to cut and polish stones and afford to lose some more weight for higher value stones. That's when people really cut stones for hearts and arrows with higher clarities and higher colors. Like I mentioned, even in SI, the colors could be JK, LM, whatever. It's possible to make hearts and arrows. Can you share the PowerPoint, please? I will not be able to share the PowerPoint, but however, if you can email me at, we'll share my email later. That's ramit@igi.org. I'll be able to send you whatever questions and images that you require. Does an ideal cut, so Milan, sorry, I forgot to mention names. Yogesh, you asked me the question on hearts and arrows available in lower colors and clarities. Hardik, I'll be able to share with you my email ID that I have. You can ask me as many questions on email. Milan, does an ideal cut rating equate to hearts and arrows? No, not always. Like I said, cut grade is one of the factors, but primarily it's actually at number 3. Number 2 is your symmetry, and then number 1 are your angles, that is your vertical angles and your horizontal angles, your azimut angles or the tilt angles, which are crucial. Hardik, I personally don't know HNA, but a customer of mine selects stones with 3 very good. Okay, so Hardik, if you want to connect with IGI, if you want to come over sometime, you're more than welcome to come, and we will be able to guide you on what stones will pass, what doesn't pass, and should make it a little easier with your customers. Pranav again, Neil, IGI grades cut as ideal also. Does this mean that these stones will pass? Like I mentioned earlier to Hardik and also to Milan, that stones which are cut to ideal proportions may not all of them exhibit the hearts and arrows effect, right? So actually these diamonds are right from the manufacturing stage, they are inclined or they are dedicated to be cut to achieve the hearts and arrows effect. So it's not by accident you can really have it. Like I said, triple excellent stones, ideal cut stones are not all hearts and arrows, perfect hearts and arrows, right? What is the maximum deviation allowed in angles, or should it be perfect? Kuriman, to be very honest, almost no deviation is allowed. Less than 0.5% deviation is something which people are working at, sometimes at almost no deviation to achieve this. Monali, I'm a jewelry appraiser, I'm getting mixed answers to my question. What, let me see, Monali's question, what is the percentage of premium for Hudson over regular ideal cut diamond? Monali, to be honest, it's how you really pitch it to the client, because these diamonds are, you know, when they've been cut, there's a loss of weight, which it wouldn't be for a generic round brilliant cut stones. The cutter or the polisher or the manufacturer will demand a little premium, which would be anywhere from 5 to 10% additional, right? So that is something that even you can get from your client if you market it the right way. If it appeals to them, if they like it, yes, you can get a premium for these stones. Can we have any range of measurements from Bhavin? Yes, Bhavin, we can help you some range of measurements. I shared with you the earlier chart, which are guidelines. So close to those guidelines, if you work, you should achieve this. Pratish asks, is any fixed parameters which help us identify hearts and arrows diamonds easily? Pratish, to keep it easy, if you have a triple X stone and proportions which I had shared with, like crown angles 34, 55, 56% tables, crown 14, 15%, pavilion about 40 to 43%, girdles are medium. You know, these kind of stones are good to look out for hearts and arrows, keeping in mind all the other factors that I spoke about, right? Bhavin, I already, your question is about table size and total depth. Total depth we discussed, 62%, almost close by, should be 61, 62% is good to go with. Table size 54 to 58. Yeah, larger tables don't really work. So within 57% should be good. Heart and arrows got nothing to do with polish. To be really honest, Pranav, yes, you're right. It's not really got to do much with polish. Even if you have a very good polish, you will see this effect. It's just that a very high polish shows the effect much more cleaner, right? Hitesh bhai, while viewing face up under the hearts, and if we see certain deviation in light, how do we confirm it is due to top or bottom? When viewing face up, to be honest, it should be more from the pavilion effect while you're cutting from the pavilion. So the deviation or light and dark is really something, not what you see from the crown, but it's actually a pavilion that you work with, because the facets of the pavilion are showing up, right? If you have certain stones which are showing the light and dark effect, we would like to see them and work closely together how to correct them, right? Sarla, when shopping for hearts and arrows diamonds, what type of diamond certificate is best? Being from IGI, I would really canvas for IGI, because not really, because we've been doing this for years. You know, IGI is the foremost lab that has been working to achieve with cutters to achieve perfect hearts and arrows. We have a lot of experience in this, and when we are looking and we are grading diamonds for hearts and arrows and our reports, which are special hearts and arrows cut, they've gone through a lot of expertise has gone through to make sure that that report stands by what it says, right? Can hearts and arrows be seen in oval shapes, Pranav? No, not really, Pranav, not in the oval shapes. If the diamond has heart and arrows inscribed on the girdle, does that prove it's a hearts and arrow? To be very honest, I do not believe that laboratories inscribe on the girdle hearts and arrows, right? We do not, it's on the report, in comments it's mentioned hearts and arrows, and it should have the image of the hearts and arrows on the report. On the girdle, if it's inscribed, it could be done by any trader or polisher, so that really does not prove that it's a heart and arrow cut diamond, right? It has to be validated with a report. What is acceptable standard for the 8 hearts and 8 arrows? Acceptable standard, like I mentioned, they should all be monali. That's the question from you. They should all be very sharp, bright, perfect shape, no misaligned shaft and head. All the hearts should be perfect, not the clefts not too deep, the shape and size perfect. Something that you would love to see, and something when you're looking at the hearts and arrows, you really can't point out where the problem is. It just looks like an overall beautiful effect, right? I believe so far these are the questions. Like I mentioned before, you could reach us at IGI to know more about this, to know or understand more about our reports. Something new to offer to customers, and we wish you a lot of luck for the upcoming Akshaya Tritiya, right? You have a lot of prosperity and peace of mind. Thank you. Do we have a few more questions? Okay, we have a few more questions. Is the size of stones will affect hearts and arrows? Will the size? Akhil, so not really. The size of the stone don't really affect. You can have something within, something like even 10 pointers showing you hearts and arrows, and you can have above a carat, all could show the hearts and arrows effect. Are fancy shapes and round modified heart and arrow patented under or any manufacturer can make? To be really honest, yes, you can make 10 hearts and arrows, you can make, so it's not really patented. However, certain brands have patented certain, like the octagon brilliant have been patented by a particular brand for that particular region. Outside the region, it can be marketed, right? So you have to be very careful on this. Yes, you need to find out if you are promoting it in a particular region. You should know whether a particular brand has patented it. So it's a very good question. Mr. Mehta, glets affecting the can be qualified as vision. So like I mentioned, if there is a glitz or a feather, if there is a feather in the stone, it could affect the hearts and arrows pattern. And to be careful about that is, if the feather is not cutting the outline, if you can see the perfect outline of the arrow, perfect outline of the heart, and the glitz is somewhere within the hearts and arrows, we would consider that as a pass, right? Overall, you should be able to see the overall effect of the heart or the arrow outline, right? All right. So I guess we'll wait for a moment if there are any more questions on this. Meanwhile, you can just type your email address. Anybody wants to connect. All right, if you need to connect to me, it's you can reach me at Ramit at, oops. That's where you can reach me, right? Hope this information was good to go with, good to start with. There's a lot that we can do, and I thank you once again. Amiko?
Yeah, thank you everybody for being such a lovely active participants. I hope we have covered all your questions. In case if you still have any questions, you can drop in onto the email address which is available on your screen, which is ramit@igi.org. On behalf of GemAtlas and the entire team, we would like to thank Mr. Ramit Kapur and IGI for having this beautiful presentation for us today, and thank you everybody for being such a lovely participant. We are ending the session now. Thank you.
Thank you.